Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Too Old to Die Young, Volume 5, The Fool. So full spoilers for the episode, as always. This one was hyped up for us quite a bit. There was at least a few people saying, oh, episode 5, can't wait to get to episode 5. And it followed Martin, and only Martin, as he pursued the two brothers who were making rape films in Albuquerque. And the opening scene, very uncomfortable.
Goes on longer than you think it's going to, doesn't it?
It does. It's a very awkward, silent. Well, I mean, it's not silent, but there's a lot of silence between the. It's which is not unusual for the show, but
even more so because there is a lot of actually, uncertainty from the character and thinking about his responses.
Yeah, because we have these. Well, one of the brothers is there, sitting next to a camera. There's some random dudes behind him, just kind of leaning against the wall, very kind of intimidating. And there's this young guy who's 18, just turned 18, shows his ID to prove that fact. And he's a virgin, and he's ready to do this. And so he's clearly understanding that he's there for a sexual film of some kind. He's not completely out of the blue. But the way that the brother talks to him, let me just get his specific name. Stevie is this brother. The way he keeps, let me just click on his face. I want to actually make sure it's him before I keep saying the wrong name all episode. No, it's him. Look at him. Right. So he's asking him all these questions. He's asking him, okay, so if you ever sucked cocks, when did you suck cocks? Was it your dad's cock? Was it, it's all these really sort of provocative and dark questions.
The kid's just like, no, just a friend.
Yeah. And it's very uncomfortable, and it gets more so at the end when they kind of force him to sign a contract and then force him to take a pill.
And, without reading the contract at all.
Yeah, because just sign it, and he's very, the guy who's brought over the sort of henchman dude, he's very intimidating, and
it's kind of weird to have that part on camera as well, right?
Yeah. They can edit it.
They could, but the footage exists.
Yeah. But it's a very long, drawn out scene of the silences between the responses and the awkward shuffling and clicking of the mouth as he's trying to think of his answers. He's very nervous. You feel like they're being predatorial here, even though he has an extent of understanding why he's there.
To a point, he's there willingly.
Yeah, but he's clearly being coerced and manipulated to go further than what he's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And after he's signed the contract and he's taking the pill, Stevie gets up, and as he's leaving, because it's basically just been cut between the same two shots the whole scene. There's one sort of shot of the kid on the couch, and then there's one shot sort of looking at Stevie next to the camera, and they're both kind of static wide shots, so it's very stark. It's a very starkly cut back and forth scene.
Yeah.
And as he's walking out the room, he just turns to the 3 or 4 guys, says, "All right, rape him," and that's when the title comes up. And the kid starts to kind of get scared and struggle a little bit, but we follow Stevie out and we don't see any more of it.
On the titles coming up.
Yeah.
What the hell, Amazon? It offered me to skip the intro. You know how Netflix does?
Oh, it's done that for me for every episode on this.
Oh, it hasn't done it on the other episodes. I'm like, why on this show when the intro is just, letters over the
scene? Yeah, no, it's stupid.
Scene, yeah.
No, it's done that literally for every episode for me. Maybe not episode 1 because it was the first one. They might not have programmed it in for that, but
what the hell?
Last few times it definitely came up saying, do you want to skip?
I can understand it on shows when it is just, okay, here's, 50 seconds, cut away and come back, right?
Yeah.
I understand why it's there for that. I used it myself. But why would you program it onto this where it's clearly, still going on in the background? It's not like it's cutting away to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I wouldn't do it either. But I've done it on other shows, although there's certain shows that I never do it with. Stranger Things is about to come back, for example. I have never clicked skip intro Stranger Things. No, play me the music. I'll
tell you what I do skip on recent. One of the ones we're covering recently is what I skip every time. Swamp Thing. God, that's a boring minute.
Whereas Dark on Netflix has quite a good song, and I always let that play.
50-50 on Dark. Sometimes it depends if I'm in the mood. Sometimes I just want to get to the episode.
I always let it play. I don't know. It depends. Whereas when we watch, let's say, Mindhunter, I after the first time, I can just skip this now every time. I don't need to see it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Dark, I do like the Dark song enough that sometimes I'll sit there and watch it, but other times I'm like, no, I just want to get on with it. Come on, go.
Let's be honest. It is mostly down to this music. Like, if I like the track, I'll let the track play out. If the visuals can be nice, but like,
Yeah, the music, but there is a how good is the music versus outweighing how much I am in a rush to get the episode finished. Sometimes we're on quite a time crunch, and saving just a minute can help.
I have literally never considered that into my thinking. But
Oh, I have. When we've some days when we've got like a couple of shows to watch, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting quite late. Right, skip intros. That's a couple of minutes saved.
I mean, if I'm ahead of you, sure. But if I'm watching at the same time, I'm not skipping the intro if I like it.
No, obviously.
There's no point. So that's our intro scene. We see that Martin's watching. He's outside in the car watching Stevie leave, and there's a lot of scenes in this episode of him just driving like on one of these desert roads and like following in pursuit and having some synth music playing, and it's really simple, but holy shit, do I love it.
I need this score.
I need it. I'm sure it's coming.
There's a vinyl. It came out like the other day, and I'm.
Oh, okay, go.
I may be requesting it as a birthday present.
I can get that. I could seriously understand that. It's really good, and there's actually a lot. Like, I know this show has been full of scenes that have been very long, right? Very long, drawn out scenes. But I feel like this episode especially, like the opening, like half of the episode is like 4 scenes. He follows Stevie to a very I was going to say conservative church, but that's not even doing it justice because it's a straight up neo-Nazi church. The guy's talking about swastikas and like, let's not be ashamed of who we are, brothers, and things like that.
Yeah. There's no hiding it. They're not trying.
I mean, not that we really needed any other reason to want Martin to kill these assholes, but I mean, this was like, okay.
And it helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay, right. They're neo-Nazis on top of being, violent rapists. Right, okay. So, and he ends up at a bar with them, and he's sitting alone on the actual, the bar itself, right? He's sitting up at the bar. And it's kind of a weird design where the actual like sitting area is behind the bars because there's like a wall, but everyone can walk past it into the seating area.
Yeah, I've been in bars like it.
Yeah, it's not that weird, but it's just in this particular
less common.
Yeah, but in this case, I'm from the perspective of blocking the scene. It's kind of important because there's this barrier.
It feels like it's a straight narrow bar, like a traditional thing you'd see on TV, and then there's actually more behind it.
Hidden, you might say.
Yeah.
But not really that hidden. It's like it's hidden, but you can kind of get to it easily.
If you bother to look, you could see it quite easily.
And it's the same with the church. It's like it's a church. You wouldn't necessarily think the neo-Nazis are in there, but they're not exactly stopping you from getting in and just listening to them.
Yeah.
So, he has this exchange where the other brother, the younger brother, and I'm just going to try and
find the name. Are you?
I'm just trying to get the name.
I think Bill is the henchman dude.
Yeah, Rob. Rob's the other brother.
Okay.
So Rob's up at the bar and he's kind of flirting with the bartender a little bit, and he gives Martin a couple of looks, and it's kind of like he's almost eyeing him up, thinking that he is attractive or whatever, and he asks him for his help carrying his drinks, because he gets 7 shots and he can't carry them all.
Yeah, I was like, hey, no, it's my job, I'll do it, and he's like, oh, I'm sure this guy doesn't mind.
Yeah, and it's like he wants him to come around and see it, because he goes back there with these other group of Stevie, and they've both got a girl on their arm, and there's this awkward exchange where Martin's kind of standing there after he's dropped the drinks off, where he's like, oh sorry, and leaves again, right? And then after the bartender gives him a free drink, he goes back in. He waits a little bit, goes back in, and says, hey, I don't know anyone here. I'm not from here. I'm sitting out there talking to myself, which is bullshit because he talks to no one ever.
and Rob was just sat next to him for presumably at least a little bit, and he was completely silent the entire time.
Joe, I love about this is that he actually talks more in this scene probably with these two brothers than he has done in the last 2-3 episodes, because they keep talking to him and asking him questions, so he actually keeps answering them. It's very slow paced still. It's still.
Oh yeah, but he has to answer them. Words are definitively coming out of his mouth.
And what's really interesting for me for this scene, obviously he sits down and they make him buy them a bottle of booze, but he sits down and they do a bit of small talk, who are you? Why are you here? And it's almost like he's being very smart here by using some truth in what he's saying, where he realizes the salesman answer that he gives is bullshit. So he's like, you know what? No, I'm not a salesman. I don't know why I said that. You know, and he gives this sob story about breaking up with his girlfriend, and he's kind of just driving for driving's sake, and he's presenting himself as a bit of a drifter, which makes him the perfect candidate for the people that they prey on. But the part that was most interesting for sure is when they start asking him about who his girlfriend is and why he can't go back.
I think it's even before that, because they start asking him about porn before that. Because
obviously, they do ask him about porn before that. But I'm talking. The interesting part for me though is when he says, "I can't go back because she's 16." And what's interesting there is that Janie, I mean, she's 17 now, but she was 16 when they started dating. Like, he's actually using some truth here that appeals to these two.
It is. That's what I was going to say. Is bringing up the porn. They're going off, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I like this." He's just going along with it when they show him stuff. And they're like, "No, you don't."
Stevie's lady actually checks. She gives him a bit of a grope to check.
Yeah. They're like, "No, you don't. You don't give a shit about this." And they're kind of losing interest in him. So that's when he goes, "Oh, she's 16," and suddenly they're interested again. He's like, "Okay, he's got them back."
Yeah, but it's the honesty. It's just the honesty that's kind of in there that makes it work and makes them believe it. Which opens all sorts of doors morally for the character when he knows he can use this for these individuals, for them to kind of trust him almost.
Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that he has been doing it.
Yeah,
it is real. Yeah,
exactly. It's very strange, but and it does present this moral weird dilemma that for us, I think, as an audience, and like, okay, he clearly understands what he's been doing, but at the same time, he's still doing it. I mean, maybe when he gets back, maybe he'll change his ways. I don't know.
The question is, what is it that makes him better than all these people he's going around killing, right? Because he is okay. I think it's safe to say he's better than the Nazi rape porn makers. Don't get me wrong.
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
There are degrees of how bad this can be. But the point is, he's clearly not necessarily likable.
Yeah. He's clearly got some darker sides to him. And it's fascinating. The scene goes away, the brother Rob goes away with his lady friend, and he's prepping her for a shoot or something. There's like an extended sequence of him just spraying her with water. Because she's in her underwear at first, and then he eventually cuts her underwear off. And then afterwards, we come back later after we cut back to the barn, he's putting makeup on her. And it's a very sensual, very dead silent scene. There's there's almost no lines of dialogue the entire time. It's very much... Again, one of the themes of this always comes back to is the treatment of women and power, right? And this scene is very much he's in power and she is this object that is being essentially polished for display.
I think it's even more than that when he's showering her down. It's like the way you'd shower down like a horse after he'd been riding in the mud. You just spray at it.
Oh,
it's
sure,
kind of
that
same sort of treatment.
Yeah, I see what you said. So it goes to this extended thing, and then it cuts back to the bar, and they're playing pool, and Stevie actually just kind of flat out says, "Hey, you doing anything tonight?" He's like, "No." And he's like, "Do you want to shoot a scene?" He's like, "What do you mean?" You know what I mean.
You know what we mean.
He's like, "Sure." Like that's my reenactment of the scene.
Equally as flat.
Equally as flat, yeah. Do you know what I love about this? There's a little detail I love here, where Martin's big thing throughout the entire show has been how he spits. He spits whenever he is questioning kind of the moment that he's in, and I love that he doesn't spit all episode until right before he unleashes. Right before, it's almost like he's becoming himself again. It's almost like him spitting is the superhero cape going on. In a weird way.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Because he doesn't spit all episode. He's undercover. He's doing this part. They take him back to their warehouse where they shoot stuff. And Stevie's like, well, we're going to have to see a cock. And his lady friend comes over, kneels down, starts undoing his belt and whatever. And it's right before this. It's right when he's been questioned here about seeing his cock and like getting photos and stuff, where he starts spitting on the floor, and I'm like, is that a sign that he's about to go full Martin here?
Yeah, because you could just read it as, I mean, he was inside in a bar for all of the previous scene with these. Even he maybe has a little bit of respect not to just spit in their establishment, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, it does play the other way, more so of, okay, no, it's him again.
Yeah, I think it plays that way. I think you can also argue that he's spitting in this place because he doesn't respect their place. He doesn't respect who they are. You could almost read it like that a little bit as well. But it's right as she's going for his dick that he just pulls it. And I love how the scene is like uncomfortably silent before this point. Again, it's all these silences between the lines of dialogue. And right when she's going for his dick, the gun comes out and the music kicks in with a loud gunshot. With a loud gunshot
right through his head and the blood spurting everywhere. It's great.
Yeah, and he kills her too. Obviously, this is a loud gunshot. His brother Rob and the henchman dude with the curly hair has to have heard this, right? There has to be something going on here. And Martin looks around for a little while, kind of stealthily and carefully, with his gun. And he eventually goes out because he sees like an exit door that they might have left through, and he goes outside.
Yeah.
He gets in his car, and that's when Rob and the other guy come out with their guns and they start shooting. And then we get what might be the first car chase scene I've ever seen in a movie or a TV show with an electric car.
Yeah, because it's so weird. Because he's in this old Ford that kind of looks kind of the part of what you expect, right?
Yeah, it's a little beat up, but
it's a car chase car.
Yeah, and
because they're in a Nissan Leaf.
And because I mean I didn't know what the make of the car was, but
like the whole time, even before it got to the end, I was like, this is so weird. Them just being in a Nissan.
Well, see, earlier on there was a reference. He was talking to someone and they said, I think it was the bartender said, "Oh yeah, I saw you driving that weird fancy car," and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's an electric," and they get in this electric car, and I noticed it in the car chase because there's a very long extended sequence before we get to the end of this chase where because they basically chase each other all night. They go on the highway or the desert road and they're chasing all night while it's dark.
That's the thing. It starts as a chase, right? You've got the tension, the big adrenaline pumping music going. And then it kind of relaxes, it switches to the radio and it just becomes just an endurance thing. It's not a chase anymore.
Yeah. But there's a lot of a montage where they're driving through the night and the music's playing. It's really good. But even during that scene, I started to notice the sound of the engine and I'm like, I've never heard an engine like this before. Oh, it's because he's got an electric car. That's why it sounds different.
You've not heard a lot of electric cars, have you?
I've not heard a lot of them. I certainly not heard a lot of them driving fast like this in a chase scene.
It's weirdly quiet.
Yeah. And every time it cut back to their car, I was like, "Oh, that's a weird sound," and I actually kind of liked it. I was like, "Oh, this is different."
It's just like this soft whirring rather than a growl like you get from a proper engine.
Yeah, but hey, I'm all for saving the planet. Yeah, more electric cars, sure, go for it.
Hey, there are some damn fast electric cars these days.
I don't care what fast.
No, but typically that's people are like, it's electric. It can't perform, right? Is what a lot of people think. But
it's funny because the joke in this scene almost is that they never really catch up to him because it's an electric car, and I did laugh because I'm like, well, I know that they have to be charged every day, and you've been driving all night, so presumably it's going to die at some point. And sure enough, we get this scene once we're in daylight after they've been fighting over the radio, between Rob and the other dude.
What was the song they settled on in the end?
Oh. It was still nighttime. Well,
it was still night. It was very early on.
No, I know the song, and I actually cheered. I cheered when I realized what song it was.
I realized from like the first, and now I'm blanking on what the hell it was. I'm gonna have to find this out because it's gonna annoy the hell out of me.
No, I know what it is. I'm going to tell you in a second.
Oh, go on then.
But I'm just building up to it because I cheered when I realized what song it was. Do you know why I cheered?
Are you a particular fan of this song? Was it in something that I'm gonna hate? You've got a grin on your face, shitting grin on your face. Was it in a certain TV show?
It was the favourite song of Angel in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
No. Will you please put me out my resume and remind me what the hell the song was?
Mandy.
That's it.
Oh, Mandy. I mean, technically, before anyone corrects me, yes, the revelation that was his favourite song was in his show Angel, but he came from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I shortened the reference a bit. But I actually started laughing because I realized it was building up to the chorus, what song it was, and I started laughing. I'm like,
oh, did it take you that long to know what the song was?
They just handed me my reference. They just handed it to me on a silver platter.
Oh, so I did good. Like the back and forth between them of like, oh no, my song, and then this comes on, and they're both like, this'll do.
Yeah. Oh, it was really good. It was really good. So the Tesla, wasn't a Tesla.
It was a Nissan.
Nissan, yes. Whatever. I think of an electric car, I think Tesla, right? I'm like a parent in the 90s who just thought every video games console was a Nintendo. They're all Teslas.
Yeah. You're a terrible person.
I don't know cars. I can barely. I mean, see if we did like a test of like car like manufacturer logos, I would get maybe half of them if you're lucky.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the Nissan logo says Nissan.
Oh, I didn't see it in this. I'm not saying the Nissan was one that I'd get wrong.
Well, you could see it on the car pretty clearly.
I don't really notice
them.
Look
for it.
Yeah, I don't notice them. I know what an Audi looks like. Has the 4 rings. I know Peugeot's the line.
Yeah. I mean, is it a lion? I don't know what the animal actually is meant to be.
It's a cat of some kind. I mean, I said lion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so the car breaks down, or I say breaks down. It just runs out of charge. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just empty.
And Bill, the henchman's like, "God damn it, we should have gone in the other car. It wouldn't happen in an American car."
And but funnily enough, I actually thought that Martin's car, like his tire blew out. I think it did actually, but he's still able to drive it backwards in a second because he rams into him.
It sounded like something blew. I don't know if it was a tire or the engine backfired or something.
Because I like the implication, because I think at first you're thinking, oh, this is like Refn's got some sort of weird anti-electric car like message that he's trying to like shove down our throats here.
10 seconds later,
the other car,
which it's a Ford. That's a classic American thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then that one breaks down as well immediately.
Yeah. Not that I think Refn would have a specific pro-American car bias because he's not American, but
no, of course. But just the idea, that this guy's like, this wouldn't happen in an American car, and then 20 feet in front of them, the American car has a problem.
I like the simple kind of irony of like it didn't really matter what type of car they were in, or the idea that both of them are going to run out eventually because they're both. I don't know, like there's like a really nice little bit of symbolism here.
I did laugh at this as well, where he's like, "Go on, go get out and shoot him." He's like, "Well, I would if I had any shells left."
This is like the most pathetic car chase ever. Like it ended up just being a stalemate. Brilliant. Right? It ended up being a stalemate, and then by the time they get there, he's already wasted all of his ammo. He's like, "I've got no ammo left," and I'm like, "Well, what are you going to do
now?" I know.
So Martin rams into them. He walks up and kills the henchman when he gets out of the car, and then he is going to kill Rob. But Rob, and this, I actually loved how this came up, this moment where he's just like, "Oh, there's like she's still alive," and he's like, "Hmm." And
he's still alive.
For a split second, I thought, did Damien set him up? And he's talking about Janie, like, and this was going to be like a twist. But no, he's like, I'm not here for. I don't know anything about this. But since you've mentioned it, take me to her because I'm not an awful guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. He's not that awful.
He's not that awful. So he leads them out to this. There's this little air vent sticking out the desert. And he makes Rob dig. And do you know what? Given how Refn likes to draw things out, I was actually really relieved when the montage started of him digging, because I really thought we were going to watch him dig, one handful at a time.
I did too, and I think that is the first major difference between this and Twin Peaks.
You think Twin Peaks would have made us watch it all?
Well, I'm just saying, we watched a man sweep the floor for about 6 minutes.
Yeah, but that was an intentional, like,
it was riveting.
Like like Lynch knew we were like sitting going, when's the thing that this is important going to happen? It's just the phone ringing. Like, that was a joke on the audience. That's what that was.
It was brilliant. But I'm just saying.
But sure enough, he eventually gets to like a box, and turns out there's a woman inside, and he tries to then stab Martin when he gets a chance, but he shoots him, and kills him. Double taps him when he's down, and he tries to. The girl doesn't seem to speak English. She's Mexican, which I wonder if maybe ties into our Mexican plot lines that we've been following. But
it could do, yeah.
Yeah. But Martin tries to assure that he's not there to hurt her, but she's still kind of freaked out, and she grabs Rob's little knife that he was using
and stabs him one.
And stabs him, and he just kind of lies there like, really, come on. Come on now.
He's like, I'm trying to do a good thing here, and I'm still getting stabbed.
And she just runs off out of the distance, and that's pretty much how we end the episode. This one is so focused, and it's it's still a long episode. It's still like 76 minutes, but so much of it is just these long, drawn out scenes with the dialogue, with all these gaps in between.
I mean, that car chase is probably a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, this is a lot of Refn is definitely a mid piece, but this episode especially is the slow build up to achieving this, and confirming they are who they are. And I think between just by the way they try to recruit him, it's very clear to him that they're definitely doing this. Their entire demeanor is kind of there. But it's all about the build to it.
As soon as it happens so suddenly, doesn't it? It's like, right, gunshot, bang. You don't even see the gun come out quick enough, almost.
I think that goes back into the idea of him blended into a world who's oblivious. The idea that he's different and everyone else is going about doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And him just sort of lashing out that way. Really good. Not as much for the theme of money in this episode, but we do at the opening scene when he's talking to the kid. He does say something like, "Oh, it's going to be $1 per ass and 50 cents per mouth." Yeah,
they're going to charge $1 per ass and 50 for the mouth.
I'm not sure if I understood what they meant, actually, to be honest, when he said that.
I assumed you said every guy who comes in, that's what we're charging them to use you.
Well, see, no, I thought he meant that at first, but then by the end of the scene, it didn't really seem like there was anyone else there. It seemed more like, because I thought it was we're going to prostitute you out, essentially. But then it didn't seem like it was actually. It seemed like it was just those 3 or 4 in the room who were going to do this.
Yeah, I assume it was it was like an ongoing thing. It's like, this won't be just today. This will be going forward.
Well, so all he's making from this one day is, let's assume there's 4 guys. That's $4 for the ass, and then $2 for the mouth.
So, yeah,
he's making 6. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
I have to imagine they're paying more. Not that I see these people as upstanding citizens who care about their employees or anything, but I just $6. How do you?
I think that's the point. He's already signed the contract by the time he hears that.
I was wondering if it was no, they're just making this one film, and it was forgive the graphic nature of this comment, but per thrust. So every thrust into the ass was $1, which seems like a more reasonable wage.
That gets expensive quite fast, doesn't it? You assume between 4 of them.
Sure, yeah, between 4. This is a really weird conversation. I can't believe I'm. I
knew this was going to get weird from the opening scene of this show, this episode. I'm like, God damn it.
I'm just, I think what that opening scene does really well, though, is that it makes you very quickly feel really bad for this kid. You're really scared for him.
He has no idea what he's gotten into.
No.
Even though, like you say, it's very clear he's gone along to this office, shall we call it, willingly, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they coerced him to get there. He's kind of heard it was a thing, and he's gone, hey, I'm 18 now, might as well. And then not realized what it actually was entailing.
Yeah. So no, pretty. And again, it's examples of these really awful people who, again, do a really good job of masking it when they're around others. When Rob's talking to the bartender, she has no idea he's like this. I don't think.
No.
Not
unless she also attends the church.
Yeah, the neo-Nazi church. It's a show with just despicable characters all over the place, and the little glimmers of hope and heroes that you do get, you kind of want to latch onto. And I guess the plot here is ultimately Martin trying to become that. It's kind of what Vigo and what Diane are kind of trying to inspire in him, I guess.
I think Vigo is probably the most quote unquote good character we've got, or the least awful,
likable. Maybe even say.
You might even go that far.
You may even go as far as likable.
You might, yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's some really awkward going back to like Janie and the idea of being her young and whatnot. I do almost wonder if there's like a self-reflection thing here where, or at least from us like analyzing it, that like I think she's not a bad character per se, but we don't look at her as being an entirely sympathetic character because she's making a lot of mistakes and she's kind of in over her head and like choosing to be with Martin, and like she doesn't really quite realize what she's getting into. And it kind of, and when we say that, it kind of describes the kid on the couch, right? In these films, and the idea that okay, he's not doing exactly what they were doing. He's not raping her. He's not making films. He's not exploiting her in the same way, but it's still exploitative because of her age. Yeah. And I wonder, like, I think it's intentional for us to see that. I wonder if Martin also is realizing that, or if
does it hit a point in the show where he kind of realizes that and stops his relationship with her? Because this is the weird hypocrisy is he is kind of everything that he's trying to kill, right?
Yeah. So no, it's an interesting journey, and it's stylish as shit. Like every step of the way, it's stylish as shit.
God damn that music.
Yeah, music's great as well. Yeah, it really picks up. Like, see that moment when he fires the gun, because it's so loud in the mix. Like, like I went from thinking I had it at a nice level to like, oh shit, that's maybe too loud.
No, this is the thing, because I know what an average, setting on my speakers is. I can, it's on a dial. I know where is normal. And on this show, I always have to crank it up because it's so silent for so long, right? And because there's no sound in the background often, and the characters don't exactly talk loud a lot of the time. So I have to turn it up quite a bit to get it to a comfortable level. And then that comes out of nowhere, and it's like, shit, turn that down a bit. Because, it's late, and that was loud as balls.
Yeah, I think you can also read into the ending a little bit of like, yeah, he's assuring her that he's not there to hurt her, that he's a friendly, but I think her not being able to understand his language, assuming she can't understand his language. I'll just rephrase the sentence. I think it says something that just through like looking at him, like she senses that he is like a bad person, or she senses that he is from the shades of grey part of the world. Like he's from the Wild West. Like she can't trust him because she recognizes. And we've compared this to Drive before, but it reminds me of in Drive where the driver and the kid, Carey Mulligan's kid, are watching like the cartoon, and it's the shark, and the kid's like talking about the shark, and he's like, oh, well, he's bad because he's a shark, and Ryan Gosling says, are there no good sharks? And that's kind of the point of that movie. Is like, is he good, and he kind of ultimately realizes he can't be around them because he is still that. And I think that here with Martin is that he is still kind of in the dark underworld.
He's still kind of a shark.
Yeah. Shark with a heart of gold, maybe, or at least getting there, but still a shark.
If Vigo has his way.
If Vigo has his way. So yeah. So no, I think that's a real interesting beat in the ending there. Is that she can't just trust him. Like she sees him as one of them, and she had just see him shoot the guy in the head. And as much as that was the bad guy to her, it's still like, no, he's still got a gun. He's still dangerous
and
looking.
It's pretty ruthless. And again, it was the double tap shows how at ease he was with doing it.
Yeah. There's not a lot coming from that feels comforting. There's not, like
No, to be fair, I mean, when he actually tries talking to her at first, it is as comforting as Miles Teller could be.
Oh gee, I kind of want them to remake Whiplash, but with this character instead of his character from Whiplash. Just I want to see how Martin deals with J.K. Simmons in that movie. Like once
throw the cymbal right back at him.
Yeah, once the chairs like went past his head, like I feel like the bass drum is probably going for JK's head. But I want to
know where those drumsticks are going.
I think you know exactly where they're going. But like, I just like I think there's just a lot of really good character deconstruction to be done with just the little beats and how they're handled, and then obviously the camera work. Like I really like. I think at one point in the bar, there's like a pan all the way from the one side of the bar to the other where they're sitting as he walks past, and it's like a really nice, again, very slow paced shot.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a cinematic tour de force, right? The whole show is just like it's gorgeous, and this episode in particular is stands out.
Yeah, fascinated to see where we go from here, because presumably he'll be back in LA next episode, but. We'll see. We'll see if is this girl who's ran off, is she now at the show, or does he catch up with her and we deal with her? Is she now a character that we're going to be interacting with, or is that her run out the show for good? We just don't see her again.
I suspect the latter.
Which one did I say last?
That's egged done for good. We're not going to see her again.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that works. That completely works. But no, I'm excited to get back to Vigo and. What he's up to, and does Martin tell him about any of this? He doesn't speak a lot, admittedly, so
Yeah, but maybe I'll have to when he sees the stab wound.
Maybe, because that's one of the other things we were saying, how like Martin doesn't seem like he can be very comforting, but I think one of the things that Vigo actually is that Vigo actually does come across as kind of more personable when he tries. Like he's still very stoic, but. When he was at the self-help meeting last episode and he was talking to the other guys, he did seem kind of a lot more comfortable talking to people than Martin does.
Yeah, I mean, it might be just an act. Like, it might not be genuine at all, but he's at least able to put up that front, whereas Martin just isn't yet, at least.
Yeah. So that's episode 5. Really, really pretty slow build of an episode, and I think keeping it so focused just made it really. And this is the exciting thing. It's like the next time Refn makes a movie, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to be 2 hours. Like this was like a 10-hour, 12-hour Refn movie.
Ruined it for you.
But really good. And again, very quiet until the sudden burst of violence. Really effective technique that he uses a lot. So, also, I couldn't have been the only one who thought of Breaking Bad a little bit when we saw just the camper van sitting in the desert.
Yeah,
it wasn't an RV, but like it was hard not to think of Breaking Bad a little bit.
And Albuquerque as well.
And Albuquerque, yeah, it's Breaking Bad land.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised we didn't drive past a house with a pizza on the roof, to be honest.
Yeah. So one of the little shots we never talked about that I really liked.
Oh, go on.
Is the transitioning as it went into night for the chase. As it went into the slow bit, and you had all the faces kind of going in and out. That was so ethereal on top of it. That again was something you never see anything like that in a chase sequence. It kind of just took the energy out of it in a weird way, but it was really interesting.
All right. But that is Too Old to Die Young, episode 5. We will be back in a few days' time with episode 6. So look forward to that. You can let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show in other ways, of course, rate the podcast on your podcast app. Apple Podcasts or whatever it is. But you can support us more so financially if you go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can support us for as little as $1 per month, get bonuses, exclusive, some early stuff, and keep the shows coming. Otherwise, check out other content that we have. Right now we're towards the end of Dark Season 2 from Netflix. We have weekly reviews of Big Little Lies, The Handmaid's Tale. I've been solo reviewing Legion Season 3, so those are all going up. And then obviously coming from Netflix this week is Stranger Things Season 3. So a lot of things happening, and it's a very tightly packed TV schedule for the next little while.
Yeah. Remember when summer used to be quiet for TV?
Yeah, now it's the opposite. We were like really quiet for March, April, and then we hit May, and it was like, oh, it's starting to creep in now.
Yeah, and June, just like, okay, we're busy now.
Yep, that's how it is. But that's us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?